Forbidden Truth, Breaking the Matrix of Control Chapter 1. Ancient Lies and the Firmament. From the moment we are born, from our very first days in school, from the instant our young minds begin to grasp and interpret the world around us, we are relentlessly, monotonously, and almost fanatically told the same seemingly indisputable truth, that we live on a rotating sphere, the planet Earth. Like a restless spinning top, it supposedly whirls frantically on its axis while at the same time rushing at unimaginable speed through the vast, empty, and cold expanse of the cosmos. This model, known as the heliocentric paradigm, the idea that the sun occupies the center of our system, while the Earth and other planets revolve obediently around it, is implanted so deeply into our consciousness, embedded at such a subconscious level, that any doubt, even the faintest logical hesitation, is immediately met with a condescending smile, a puzzled shake of the head, or more often with aggression, ridicule, and outright rejection from those who proudly consider themselves enlightened, scientific, and rational. Turn on any television channel, tune into any radio station, browse the internet, open any school or university textbook, watch a so-called popular science film, or even glance at a commercial everywhere, without exception, you will see the same unchanging picture of the cosmic sphere. This image is always supported by supposedly irrefutable scientific evidence supplied by powerful and seemingly authoritative organizations such as NASA, Roscosmos, or the European Space Agency. We are encouraged to believe that the brightest minds of the planet work there, the most brilliant engineers and astronomers, who openly laugh at anyone daring to question their truths and achievements, which, according to them, represent the pinnacle of human knowledge. Yet, if we dare to strip away the imposed dogmas, abandon the prejudices, and cast off the fear of ridicule, if we simply allow ourselves to peek behind the curtain of this grandiose spectacle, the seemingly harmonious facade of scientific truth begins to crumble. It collapses like a cardboard stage set that needs only the faintest breath of wine to reveal its fragility. All those irrefutable facts, all that evidence from space, dissolve into nothing more than a collection of assumptions, mathematical abstractions without real confirmation, and, most disturbingly, deliberate and carefully orchestrated lies. The reality is stark, our world is flat, and there exists an abundance of real, observable, empirical evidence to prove it. Evidence that does not demand billions of dollars in investments, nor the launch of complex spacecraft, nor blind obedience to the words of so-called experts. The only requirement is that we trust our own eyes, our common sense, and the intuition within us. By doing so, we see what is directly before us, though it has been carefully veiled by layers of deception designed to enslave humanity, to control every aspect of its existence, and to deprive it of true freedom. This colossal lie does not merely distort our vision of the cosmos, it shapes our entire reality. It diverts our energy down false paths, cripples our true potential, and holds us in a perpetual state of ignorance and fear, making us vulnerable prey for those who pull the strings of global control. 1.1. The myth of the spherical Earth and its roots. One of the most fundamental, seemingly indisputable, and visually verifiable arguments in favor of a spherical Earth is the claim of its curvature. We are told that the surfaces of seas, oceans, lakes, and even rivers conform to the curvature of the planet, supposedly dropping about 8 inches per mile. 8 in me. This proven fact is taught in schools and universities as if it were an axiom, demonstrated in computer models, animated videos, and those beautiful space photographs which, as we now know, are nothing more than artistic renderings. Yet, when it comes to direct empirical observations in the real world, simple experiments accessible to anyone, this truth evaporates like a mirage in the desert, leaving behind only emptiness and confusion. Water, by its very nature, always seeks a perfectly horizontal level. Any attempt to force it into bending in accordance with a spherical curvature inevitably fails, for such are its inherent physical properties. A liquid cannot maintain a convex shape without an external restraining force. This is a fundamental law of hydrostatics that the official paradigm simply chooses to ignore. Rivers, from the smallest streams to the greatest waterways on Earth, such as the mighty Amazon 4,000 miles, the majestic Nile 4,130 miles, or the vast Volga 2,175 miles, all flow along flat, horizontal channels for thousands of miles. They do not rise uphill or descend downhill in accordance with the globe's curvature. If the Earth truly were spherical, their channels would require a constant slope, however slight, but such a gradient is not observed. Lakes, Whether small ponds or enormous inland seas such as the Caspian Sea or the Great Lakes of North America Superior, Huron, Michigan, Erie, and Ontario, likewise show no evidence of convexity. For example, by official calculations, Lake Michigan should display a noticeable central bulge of nearly 33 feet in height, yet no such bulge has ever been observed. Seas and oceans, despite their immense size, stretch out as vast horizontal mirrors, revealing no curvature whatsoever. If Earth were indeed a sphere, then structures like the Suez Canal, which stretches about 100 miles in a perfectly straight line between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, would present undeniable proof of curvature. Built without locks, this canal should exhibit a height difference of nearly 67 feet between its two ends or, alternatively, display a 67-foot hill of water at its midpoint. But no such anomaly exists. Moreover, the engineers of the 19th century, some of the finest of their era, never once accounted for curvature in their calculations. They built it as a straight line across a flat surface, as confirmed by original blueprints and historical records. Ferdinand de Lesseps, the project's director, even publicly declared, there was no need to consider the Earth's curvature, for the surface of water is always level. This reality was first demonstrated scientifically in 1838 by English researcher and inventor Samuel Burley Robotham during his famous Bedford level experiment. On a straight section of the old Bedford Canal in Cambridgeshire about 6 miles long, Robotham carried out a series of simple but ingenious tests. They required no complex equipment and certainly no billion-dollar budgets. Anyone could repeat them. Using a telescope set at water level at one end of the canal, Robotham observed a boat moving away, carrying a flag raised to the same height as the telescope. According to the curvature formula, d equals 8 in distance in miles, at 6 miles the boat and flag should have been hidden more than 16 feet below the horizon. That is not a negligible error, it is a colossal discrepancy. And yet, what did the experiment reveal? To the shock or perhaps the secret dismay of globe advocates, the boat and its flag remained visible in their entirety across the entire stretch. Robotham, ever meticulous, repeated the experiment for 9 months, each time obtaining the same result. The water surface was perfectly flat. He later published his conclusions in Zetetic Astronomy, the Earth Not a Globe, under the pseudonym Parallax. Predictably, mainstream science, unable to refute his results, directly resorted to its usual fallback, atmospheric refraction. But think carefully. Refraction is not a stable phenomenon. It constantly varies with temperature, humidity, and pressure. It cannot produce a repeatable, day-after-day illusion over 9 months in England's notoriously changeable climate. To dismiss Robotham's findings on such grounds is nothing more than a desperate attempt to twist reality into conformity with a predetermined false theory. The contradictions do not stop there. Consider lighthouses, symbols of hope for sailors whose beams are visible far beyond the distances allowed by a spherical Earth. For example, the Bishop Rock Lighthouse in England, with its lights situated 161 feet above sea level, is visible from 35 miles away. According to globe calculations, at that distance the light should be hidden 220 feet below the horizon. The Dunkirk Lighthouse in France, standing 194 feet tall, is visible from 28 miles away, yet it too should be hidden 115 feet below the curve. Such anomalies cannot be explained by minimal atmospheric refraction, which at most slightly shifts the horizon. These consistent, measurable observations stand as direct evidence against the spherical model. Thousands of sailors, fishermen, and coastal observers around the world witness them daily. They may not speak loudly about what they see, but the fact remains. Reality stubbornly refuses to bend to the imposed dogma. 1.2. Celestial Mechanics and the Fixed North Star. The absurdity of speed and stability in a frantic universe. Another inconvenient fact that raises profound questions for the defenders of the spherical Earth is the behavior of the North Star Polaris, Alpha Ursae Minoris. We are told that all celestial bodies, the sun, moon, comets, stars, galaxies, are constantly rushing through space on immensely complex trajectories in an endless, ever-expanding cosmos. And yet, amid this supposed cosmic chaos, moving at unimaginable speeds, Polaris remains absolutely fixed, unmoving, and unwavering. Century after century, it continues to point north, without shifting a single degree, fraction of a degree, or even a second of arc. This is not a minor quirk, it is a fundamental contradiction to the official model, which is forced to invent increasingly bizarre and fantastical explanations for such stability. According to mainstream theory, Earth is not merely spinning on its axis, it is simultaneously performing a cascade of dizzying motions at mind-boggling speeds. 1. Rotation on its axis. At the equator, Earth supposedly rotates at 1,037 miles per hour, 465 meters per second. Imagine yourself strapped into an aircraft flying at top speed. This, we are told, is how fast you are spinning right now, even as you sit motionless in a chair. Yet when you jump into the air, you do not land miles away from where you began. The official excuse: the atmosphere spins with the Earth. But then how do planes, helicopters, and birds fly independently, often against this supposed 1,000-mile-per-hour rotation? 2. Orbit around the Sun. Earth is said to rush around the Sun at a speed of 67,000 miles per hour, 30 kilometers per second. That is 67 times faster than the speed of sound. At such speed we should feel tremendous forces of resistance, yet we feel nothing at all. In 1 year, Earth supposedly travels 584 million miles, 940 million kilometers. 3. The solar system's rotation around the galaxy. Our entire solar system, Sun and planets included, is said to spiral around the center of the Milky Way at about 52,600 miles per hour, 84,670 kilometers per hour. This path traces a gigantic orbit, requiring 230 million years for a single revolution. 4. The motion of the Milky Way itself. Finally, the entire galaxy is claimed to be hurtling through the universe at an almost incomprehensible 670 million mph, 1.08 billion kilometers per hour, pulled by a mysterious anomaly known as the Great Attractor. If we attempt to sum these motions, Earth is supposedly traveling at speeds exceeding 1 billion miles per hour and has been doing so for billions of years. And yet, in this chaotic cosmic carousel, with Earth flying in multiple directions simultaneously, its position in space constantly changing, Polaris never shifts. From the Earth's surface, it has remained immovable for millennia, as though nailed to the firmament. This is not simply improbable, it is logically impossible. If the Earth were indeed performing these frantic, multi-vector motions, then the apparent position of the North Star would constantly drift. Its angle above the horizon would waver.